Here in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. We begin with President Biden pushing back hard at Republican critics of his new COVID-19 strategy. Our Chief National Affairs correspondent Jeff Zelmi is over at the White House for us. Jeff, the president appears undaunted by the backlash.
Man.
Well, if the White House does believe it's on solid legal ground here, saying it's the responsibility of the federal government to provide a safe workplace and protect workers. Now, these actions this week have gone much farther than President Biden has gone.
Anyways, I left to work early. I just don't deal with headaches very well. That's pretty much what it comes down to. I don't know. Day one of the diet has gone horrendous. I didn't get hungry. Like, I didn't have, my stomach wasn't growling. Like, everything was fine. And, hold on, my pause. Yeah, my stomach was fine. Everything was fine. I got to work. Before break, actually. Before my first break, I started to feel weird. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And then, like, 10 minutes after that is when I started to get the headache. And then I ate a fruit. And honestly, I think it was okay. I think it was enough. I had some noodles. Like, I literally cooked these noodles, right? But, like, we only sell noodles. So I just started adding ingredients to it, like chili powders and stuff. And it tasted okay. But, like, the smell of it. Something about the smell of it. I can smell it in my mouth, and it makes me want to vomit. So I don't know what that is. Now, I tried to sleep it off. Went to the car for lunch and fell asleep. Then after I got out of I went back into the car. After I clocked back in from lunch. And I fell asleep for a little. I woke up. And I realized that the other Carlos guy was there. And I could leave. I don't deal well with headaches. I bet you this isn't even that bad of a headache. I wish people could, I wish you could truly explain a headache to someone. Like, right now, this one hurts. The very top of my head. The very top of my head hurts. And the only explanation that I can think of, really, is my body reacting like this because I didn't give it caffeine today? I don't know. Also, I was awoken abruptly today. I got home and I tried. I don't know why I do this. Like, every 4 or 5 months, or 2 or 3 months, I will play video games when I get home from work for like an hour or two, and it fucks me. And what did I do yesterday? I played video games because I thought NBA 2K. If I played one game, I would be done with it by 7:10, but I was done by like 8. Right? I fell asleep at like 8:30, And at 1:20, I woke up to my dog, like, not attacking, but attacking the puppy. It's a really weird attack. Because the puppy's like extremely dramatic. So it's like, I don't know, whatever. The point is, like, this is how I woke up. I woke up to a thump, so it's the puppy's submissive, so she hits the floor, she'll just throw herself on the floor. So I heard thump, I heard Cooper go, "Rrr," and then I heard crying. And so, like, my eyes shot open, and I just screamed my dog's name at the top of my lungs. And that's how I was woken up. At like 1:15. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. I really don't want to walk Cooper. Oh shit. I really fucking don't. I really don't. I don't think I'm going to. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to. I kind of want to shower. Take some headache pills and take some sleeping medicine. Try to force like a deep, long sleep. Maybe. Time is going like extra fucking slow right now too. Like extra slow. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna walk over. I'm not gonna walk. It's not that bad. That's the weird thing. It's really not that bad of a fucking headache. I don't think it is. But I can't. What's a bad headache? Because to me, my head or my whatevers are telling me, oh, this sucks. Like, this hurts. But it's not crippling. No, I've had worse. I've had these headaches behind my eyes, and it's that those are migraines. I've had a migraine. Oh, I hate migraines. Honestly, my migraines feel like torture. Yeah. Sometimes when I have migraines, I sit there and just think like, just fucking end it. Good deal. Oh. What the fuck? smelling my own breath makes me gag. And I try to rinse it out, nothing. I just need to thoroughly brush my teeth. Moms working all day, with a headache, and then they have to pick up their kids. And we all, no, for some reason, no one will say it, or maybe it's just I'm the only one who feels this way. But kids, ugh, fuck that. Kids are terrible. Kids are, oh no, I don't like kids, at all. Can't fucking stand kids. I do understand the mother's love, because that's how I feel about Cooper, but I don't. Holy fuck. Sit there and shut up. we have to. I said, oh, we just sit down and shut up. Touching everything on my watch except for fucking Spotify.
Also instructing the Labor Department to require private businesses with 100 or more employees to vaccinate its workforce or submit to weekly COVID tests. Across the country tonight, Republican governors are firing back.
When you have a president like Biden issuing unconstitutional edicts against the American people, we have a responsibility to stand up for the Constitution and to fight back, and we are doing that in the state of Florida.
What the Biden administration is doing is government overreach, pure and simple.
In a visit to a school in Washington, the president promoted wearing masks and suggested his critics are unnecessarily politicizing the pandemic.
Some of the Republican governors have been so cavalier with the health of these kids, so cavalier with the health of their communities. It's not who we are as a nation. And it's not how we beat every other crisis in our history. We got to come together.
The White House believes it's on solid legal footing, insisting the federal government has the power to protect workers from grave danger under the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970.
Certainly, a pandemic that killed more than 600,000 people qualifies as grave risk to workers.
The changes come as concerns over COVID are rising, a new CNN poll finds, with 70% of Americans saying they are very or somewhat worried, up 10 percentage points from last summer. The president's approval rating on COVID is down. 56% approve of how he's handling the crisis now, down from 66% in April. The administration is trying to slow the COVID caseload, now at 1 million a week, with about 1,500 deaths every day. The White House is not ruling out taking additional steps, including requiring vaccinations to fly.
We are always looking at more we can do to protect and save lives. We'll continue to look for ways to save more lives.
And shortly after the president was visiting that school promoting mask wearing, a Florida appeals court actually delivered a victory for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Of course, he issued a ban on any mask mandate, and the judge said for now, the mandate can remain in place. The governor's decision can remain in place, so there will not be mask mandates, at least as this winds its way through court. Now, Governor DeSantis is among the Republican governors across the country leading the charge, pushing back against the White House. He focused squarely on President Biden today and also said this.
To take people's jobs and livelihoods away from them with no force of law, just an executive edict, that is fundamentally wrong. And so we need to be providing protections for folks here in the state of Florida. You should not lose your job just because Joe Biden is having this hissy fit and is doing.
So, of course, this is the endless back and forth over politics, but the legal experts we talked to do say that 1970 law, the OSHA law, which of course provides the safety of workers at every workplace in the country, does apply to this. Now, of course, governors will not be the ones bringing lawsuits. It would likely be business owners. We will see if that happens in the weeks and months to come. But as far as the timeline for this, Wolf, this Labor Department still has to write this rule, so we are talking weeks before any of this can actually be implemented. But for businesses who don't follow this, they're looking at fines of up to $14,000 per employee. So it's serious business here. So this is all just getting started. We'll see if it ends in the courts, Wolf.
Yeah, I suspect it will. All right, Jeff Zeleny, thank you very much. Let's bring in CNN chief legal analyst, the former federal prosecutor Jeffrey Dubin, along with CNN medical analyst, the former Baltimore City Health Commissioner Dr. Leana Wen. She's also the author of the important new book entitled Lifelines, A Doctor's Journey in the Fight for Public Health. Jeffrey, what do you think these mandates are? Are they going to be going to court? I assume they will be, but will they hold up in court?
Well, the lawsuits are a certainty. First of all, we need to see what the regulation actually says. I think it's interesting that the Biden administration is not putting them out right away. I think they want a few weeks to get companies to start creating the procedures so that this is almost a fait accompli when the regulation comes out. Anyone who tells you with certainty about whether these laws will be upheld doesn't really know what they're talking about, because this is uncharted territory. Yes, it's true that the 1970 law says grave danger can be addressed by the federal government, but that still raises the question of whether a vaccine mandate is within the ambit of the law. It also raises the question of whether the appropriate procedures are going to be followed. Will there be something called notice and comment, or will this be promulgated in a different way? There are lots of complicated administrative law questions that have never been addressed before, but it is clear that the Biden administration just wants these vaccines to start, and I think the delay in putting the regulation out is a sign that they want people starting now because this issue is so important.
Yeah, so important indeed. 53% of the eligible American population is now fully vaccinated, but we still have a long way to go. Dr. Wen, let me get your thoughts on these Republican governors who are trying to shut down the president's vaccine mandates. They call the new measures overreach. How do you see it from a medical perspective?
From a public health perspective, it is not overreach at all. And in fact, I wish that they came out earlier and went even further. We're in the middle of the biggest public health crisis of our lifetimes. We have more than 1,000 Americans who are dying every single day. We, as a society, set laws that protect people's health and well-being all the time. I mean, we have laws against drunk driving, and we need to start talking about the choice to remain unvaccinated as the choice to go out and drive intoxicated. We really need to start doing even more. I wish the Biden administration, for example, also put mandates on having vaccines for interstate travel. We should make the point that it is a privilege to be able to board a plane and a train, and you have to be vaccinated in order to do that. And the most important thing I wish the Biden administration did is to issue some type of proof of vaccination system similar to what Israel and many other countries have, because otherwise I fear that people are going to counterfeit their CDC cards, and that will be a significant loophole.
Yeah, that's a real potential, a very, very serious problem. Jeffrey, as you heard, Florida appeals court just ruled in favor of Governor Ron DeSantis reinstating his ban on mask mandates in schools throughout the state. Well, where is this fight likely to go next?
Well, I think the mask mandate in schools issue is really going to be fought out state by state. That is really a matter almost exclusively of state law. California is going in the opposite direction. Florida is trying to get rid of its mandates through the governor overruling local communities. That fight between local control and the big hand of state government is being fought out in Texas, in Florida, and a bunch of other states. The irony here, of course, is that the Republican Party used to be the party of local control, and they're the ones now telling these local communities that they are not allowed to impose mask mandates, even if the people on the ground think it's the way to protect their community.
Yeah, that's a good point. Dr. Wen, let me get your thoughts about these two new studies on vaccines. The CDC released earlier today one study found the unvaccinated are 11 times more likely to die of COVID than the vaccinated. Another study found that the Moderna vaccine was more effective at preventing hospitalizations than the Pfizer or J&J vaccines. What's your takeaway from this new research?
Well, the big takeaway here, Wolf, is that the vaccines still protect you very well against severe disease, even with the Delta variant, and that's protection against hospitalization and death. And now we know, even in the real world with the Delta variant, they still protect you well against those terrible outcomes. But at the same time, especially with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, one of the studies found that it's only 60% protective against hospitalization versus the Moderna vaccine is more than 90% protective. And so I think this really should be an impetus for the FDA, for the CDC to really take a close look at the question of boosters, not just for waning immunity, but also to address for people who got the J&J vaccine. I'm one of them. Maybe you're not that well protected as you could be if you got a booster right now. And I hope that the FDA and CDC will really allow for individuals who got the J&J vaccine to get a booster. They may not have to recommend it, but at least allow them to get that extra level of protection.
Yeah, very important. Now, let's not forget 1,500 Americans are dying. The last 7-day average, 1,500 Americans are dying every day from COVID-19. At the end of June, early July, it was 200 Americans a day. You can see this Delta variant is deadly, so transmissible, very, very dangerous. Guys, thank you very much. Just ahead, new evidence that law enforcement was planning for what was called a mass casualty event before the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. So why were police caught completely off guard by that violent mob?
Angie's List is now Angie. Whether you need help with routine maintenance or you're planning your dream renovation, Angie connects you with top local pros who can get the job done right. It's easy to see reviews, compare quotes, and instantly book hundreds of projects. Plus, when you book and pay through Angie, they'll cover your project up to the full purchase price, plus limited damage protection with their happiness guarantee. Check out Angie.com, and for more on the happiness guarantee, go to Angie.com/happiness-guarantee.htm.
This podcast is brought to you by 912, a podcast from Wondering, Amazon Music, and Pineapple Street Studios. Mo Razvi was a Pakistani businessman in Brooklyn, raising his daughter, running his restaurants and shops, living the immigrant dream. And then, in a matter of days after 9/11, hundreds of people from his mostly Muslim neighborhood were gone. And Mo was suddenly playing a very different role in his community, one he never imagined he would play in America. This is just one of the stories in the new podcast series 912. In each episode, host Dan Taberski tells the stories of characters whose lives would never be the same after September 11th. And through them, we begin to realize that there are new lessons to be learned, and that we might just have enough distance now from 9/11 to make sense of some of the things we couldn't understand before. Follow 912 wherever you get your podcasts, or listen to all 7 episodes right now on Amazon Music or with Wondery Plus.
Tonight, a newly revealed email is showing deep concern about violence just ahead of the January 6th Capitol siege, and a disturbing warning to law enforcement to be prepared for what was called a mass casualty event. Our congressional correspondent Ryan Nobles is working the story for us. So Ryan, what are you learning?
Well, this email was obtained by a watchdog group, Wolf, and it outlines a conference call that took place with more than 300 members of law enforcement from around the country that are part of these groups called fusion centers. That's an area where there's a collaboration amongst different law enforcement groups to keep an eye on potential threats. And this conference call was all about the threats that could emerge as a result of the Stop the Steal rally, which turned out to be the prelude to the January 6th insurrection. And they outlined a number of concerns they had about caravans of people coming to Washington at that time and the threat for potential violence. They even went so far as to create a hashtag on an internal FBI social media channel that would allow these different law enforcement agencies to keep track of events as they developed on that day. And the fact that all this information came out just a couple of days before January 6th is another example of how the officials and people in charge of keeping the Capitol safe on that day did not interpret correctly the threat as it emerged in the days leading up to January 6th. It's a big part of what the January 6th Select Committee is investigating, and one of the things they hope to change ahead of another potential rally where there is concerns coming up on September 18th.
As you know, Ryan, the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack has received thousands of pages of documents requested from telecom and social media companies. What are you learning about what this phase of the probe is all about?
Well, this is just about getting as much information as possible so that they can then begin the process of determining who they need to interview and bring in front of the committee for witness interviews. And the committee saying that they've received thousands of pages of documents from various government agencies and also social media companies that they requested information from. But even though the committee seems somewhat happy with the cooperation they're receiving, they still say they need a lot more. And they made it clear to these companies today that they would like to see more of this information come to them, and if they don't, they said they will, quote, use all the tools they have available to them at their disposal. Of course, Wolf, that's a not so subtle threat that they will use that subpoena power that they have at their disposal. If it comes to that, Wolf, the committee has a lot of work to do. All of this information is going to take a long time to sift through, and there's no deadline for them to wrap up their work.
Yeah, this investigation is going to go on for months and months and months. Ryan Nobles, thank you very much. Ryan's up on Capitol Hill. Joining us now, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California. He's also a key member of the January 6th Select Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. If these so-called fusion centers knew to make a plan in case this turned into what was called a mass casualty event, why did the people protecting the U.S. Capitol that day so severely underestimate this threat? And are you confident they won't underestimate